The first interesting changes are what they're doing to the AD item. If you haven't noticed, crit AD carries and AD carries in general have been suffering quite a bit. So they're pulling off a little bit of the cost while at the same time taking away a little bit of the power, which is going to hurt AD carries in the late game. The first item is Bloodthirst. It looks like they want to shave about 15 AD off of it, while at the same time reducing the cost by 200 gold. I don't think this is too big of a deal in the early game. I think AD carries will definitely feel this in the late game. Losing out on 15 damage doesn't seem like much, but if you do have crit items, that 15 could have been potentially 30 damage, if not more, if you have Infinity Edge, which more than doubles the crit. It gives them like 20% extra true damage. So this in the late game can actually hurt quite a bit. 𝐒𝐿𝐂𝐈𝐀𝐋 is getting the same exact treatment as Bloodthirster. It's becoming 200 gold cheaper, and it is also losing 15 AD. If you add this up, if you buy 𝐒𝐿𝐂𝐈𝐀𝐋 and Bloodthirster, then you're going to be down 30 attack damage while only saving 400 gold. That's really not worth it. It just feels like a nerf. Infinity Edge is getting a really interesting change. I feel like it's overall a nerf. It's becoming 200 gold cheaper. It is also losing 15 attack damage. The interesting part is against lane minions, you now deal 50% bonus critical strike damage. So if you're trying to shove in waves or siege, I feel like it'll be a little bit stronger. However, against champions, 10% of the critical strike damage dealt deals as converted to true damage. So it's a little bit of a nerf in that aspect. It's a buff for wave pushing, but you do lose 15 AD. I do not feel like this is a good change. This will definitely hurt crit AD carries, especially in the mid and late game. On a positive note for AD carries, Phantom Dancer is becoming 100 gold cheaper. Runon's Hurricane is becoming 100 gold cheaper, and so is Rapid Fire Cannon. They're both becoming 100 gold cheaper and retaining the same exact stats as they have now. This will definitely help out crit AD carries get their items a little bit sooner, and this will be a buff for Twitch Jungle being able to get his Hurricane a little bit quicker. Something to note here is it doesn't seem to include the static shiv, so I'm not sure if static shiv is any cheaper, and if it is, I feel like it will have a critical strike nerf. Storm Razor is becoming quite a bit cheaper, down to 2,800 gold compared to its 3,200. That's a 400 differential. Now the AD is going down a little bit. The AD is going down by 10, which is pretty big, but 400 gold is a fairly substantial difference. I feel like you will see this a lot more as the first item buy it on AD carries. You're going to be seeing more crit AD carries. I'm just not happy that they're pulling 15 AD off of pretty much every damage crit item. I feel like that's a really big nerf overall in the late game. Riot has finally acknowledged that Fiddlesticks Jungle doesn't belong in the game, Fiddlesticks Mid doesn't belong in the game, so they are arbitrarily nerfing his E by quite a bit, nerfing the mana cost by 20 at rank 1. 20 more mana at rank 1 is huge, and is also nerfing the damage by a little bit as well. Just because of Fiddlesticks support, I feel like they could have done other workarounds than this, maybe buff some of his damage to jungle monsters, or maybe give him some kind of power mid lane. This just feels like an overall nerf. Maybe make it to where his crow restores a certain amount of mana every time it kills a minion. That way you'll have some incentive for playing Fiddlesticks mid. Right now the only place you can even play him is support, and it's honestly sad. He's just a fear bot. FIZZ is getting some massive buffs. He's getting increased AP ratio on his W by 20%. Really big. He's also getting increased flat amounts by a lot, especially if he maxes it. It has 50 more damage at rank 5 than it used to. Plus the Johanna hit damage AP ratio is being increased from 30 to 40%. Really big stuff for FIZZ. It also seems like they are giving his ultimate buffs pretty much straight across the board. Yeah, just straight up buffs on his ultimate. So he'll have a lot more one-shotting power, and he'll have a lot more sustained damage in fights. I really do believe this will make Bruiser FIZZ a lot more viable. It looks like Irelia is getting a very slight bandage nerf, just lowering her base AD by 3. That won't really matter. Kindred's R is getting a longer cooldown, which is great, by 20 seconds at all rank. I think this is awesome since Kindred is fairly abusive right now as a jungler, especially if her team can get ahead. If she can get her marks for free, there's really no realistic way to beat her. Also, the Wolf's attack speed scaling is lowered from 50% to 25%. This is going to hurt her a lot at all points in the game, making her much easier to deal with. I'm super excited about this. I think she will still be played, probably just not pick and ban now. One last thing for AD items that I want to mention, we already went over those changes, is Infinity Edge now is a little bit easier to build, I suppose, because now you can get a BF sword into pickaxe rather than just 2 BF swords. Getting 2 BF swords can be really hard since they're so expensive. Now I guess it'll be a little bit easier to get the items that actually build into it. I would like to see them pull off some of the gold to finish the Infinity Edge and maybe add a longsword in here. That way you don't feel so deprived as an AD carry as you're trying to build this item. Stopwatch is getting nerfed from 8 minutes to 10 minutes, which is how it should be. They should have never put it at 8 minutes. Morgana is pretty much picked non-stop right now, at least from what I've seen in most elos, because of how effective her black shield is right now and her snare is, especially since a lot of people are picking melee champions. Her snare is very strong against that, because if you're melee, you rely off of getting close, and if you're snared, you can't, but if you're ranged, you can still use your spells and auto attacks. Anyways, her mana regen is going down by quite a bit. It's going down 0.8 at level 1, and her black shield cost is being increased to 80 at all ranks instead of 50. That's fairly significant. Less mana regen, and her E cost nearly double the mana. This isn't enough to make her not picked. However, this is enough to make her only strong in the hands of a skilled Morgana, especially in the early game. Late game, this won't matter because she'll have enough mana. But early game, I think you will see this bite into her a little bit because Morgana likes to poke with her W and Q during lane phase. If she is doing that though, she won't have enough mana for her black shield. Olaf has been garbage lately, so they're giving him a bandage buff on his vicious strikes. Just some flat attack speed, not really that important. It is plus 15% at rank 1, which is fairly big. And in the grand scheme of things, I don't think this will really matter. And the final change I want to mention is a very slight nerf to the OP champion Quinn. She's getting her base armor lowered from 32 to 28. That will definitely hurt jungle Quinn out quite a bit. I don't think it will really affect bot lane Quinn because she can play around the enemy's weaknesses and her support strengths. In the jungle though, you can only kite the camp so well. Her passive is also getting its base damage lowered only by 5 at all ranks, which is really, really low. Quinn's still going to be seen and picked quite a bit. This is just something to try to make her a little less OP. I don't think it will matter though. Lee Sin is getting a massive buff on his Qs. Lee Sin's Q has 2 parts. One, he throws the ball at you, and if he lands it, he can activate part 2 where he flies to you and kicks you. On part 1, they took 5 damage off, so pretty much nothing, right? Okay, now on part 2, they're increasing the damage based off of the enemy's missing HP all the way from 50% to 100% based on how low their HP is. So now if you are low on HP, if Lee Sin combos you, Qs you, ults you, and then Qs you again, it will be doing significantly more damage. Definitely expect to see some more Lee Sin in the upcoming patch. Thresh is also getting a sizable buff on his lantern cooldown. It is going all the way down from 16 seconds to 12 seconds at rank 5. A 4-second differential, that's a pretty big deal. I don't know how much it will matter in the early and mid game because as far as I know, he maxes his Dark Passage last. Maybe this will make him max it second. I'm not sure. I'm not really much of a Thresh player myself. Thresh's E Soul Collection AD ratio is being increased significantly from 80% at level 1 to 100%. This won't really matter though since Thresh doesn't get many souls until the mid and late game. That buff isn't really going to do much because at max rank it's still at 200%. We also have some new skins coming out for this patch. We have the pool party skins. We got Graves, Zoe, and Caitlyn. I think they look pretty nice. Taking a look at the Caitlyn animations, looks pretty fresh, obviously water-based. They're not honestly something I would personally buy, but I don't mind them being in the game. This is something that's a little on the goofier side, but I feel like it's more acceptably goofy. For example, I feel like the Pizza Sivir took away from the game, but this doesn't take away from the game too much. Do you know what I mean? This is... Wait, is this Graves or Gangplank? Wait, it is Gangplank. I'm sorry, guys. What the heck? I was gonna say he's roasting stuff with his fiery spatula. That's awesome. So instead of having a fire sword, he's got like a spatula that's on fire. It looks like they put a lot of effort into it. What does he eat? He still eats the orange? That's hilarious. That it just randomly eats a citrus. And instead of, oh wow, this is the best one. Instead of powder kegs, it's literally a watermelon. That's badass. I can get behind this. And it drops water balloons. This is the best one. If you guys are gonna buy a pool party skin, obviously get the GP one. It's the freaking best one, clearly. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up these interesting changes. The things that interested me the most was them trying to bring back Bruiser FIZZ even harder than they were before. Also, the fact that they thought by changing and not necessarily buffing AD items that would help AD carries to get back into the bot lane. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite and least favorite changes are. If you guys enjoyed this video and you do want to support the channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My name is KingStix, and thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.